Good afternoon, YouTubes and internets. Here's the van. Just enjoyed a nice lunch. You're pretty much only getting a silhouette of me right now. And it's a little better. I'm out working at a house that my dad built, and I helped him out last summer and helped him out a little now. Today though, mostly, if you want to know what I'm doing today, I do a lot of gig stuff. I've been teaching English as a second language for about 7 or 8 years. Just moved back from Saudi Arabia about 2 weeks ago in a hurry because I didn't want to get arrested. And that's a whole nother story. But right now I'm cutting wood. So here's a big pile of wood, and I've cut every single piece. No, not every single piece, but most of the pieces in there. And I'm using this log splitter to do it. And then like this whole area right here did have a bunch of wood on it, and this area still does. So I'll be cutting all this wood, and for the most part, except for the really long pieces that wouldn't fit in a wood stove. And so I'm doing that. But the cool thing is, while I'm doing that, I'm listening to a book on money by a Jewish rabbi. That's pretty cool, and it talks about the power of giving as one of the final things, and what money is. And so I'm so excited because I read a lot of books and listen to podcasts, and often one will cross-pollinate to another book or podcast to another. So I just spent almost $30 on 3 new audiobook credits, and just bought a book on at the behest of this Jewish rabbi. He said, learn how to read financial statements. And so I have practiced that some with the game Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki and his wife. Man, I'd like to get some better light. Oh, that's a little better background anyways. Except for my finger there. So I just got a book on reading or using or interpreting financial statements by a couple of authors, documenting Warren Buffett style. And then I learned how to do that some through playing Cash Flow. And then I just bought another book called The 4 Tendencies. And that was recommended to me by a podcast I've been listening to called Choose FI, or Choose Financial Independence. And that podcast is really good. So guys, if you want a good podcast about financial independence, or just in a sense living life more wisely and with more purpose and diligence, then I would definitely recommend that. But one of the things I want to talk about today is how this book I'm reading by this rabbi, he talks about in the the Jewish theological tradition, that people think of money as you are your money, or your money is you, or something like that. But essentially that it signifies in a numerical sense your creativity, your efforts, your value to the market. I guess I'm paraphrasing that. But and so I've often thought of money as an idea. And so like here, as I cut wood, or I pay for gas, or whatever I do, I'm making exchanges, so if I'm working for somebody and I'm exchanging my time, then I'm converting my time into money, and the wage that my employer or somebody's willing to pay me. And so And that's the interesting that's the interesting thing about investing. Investing is the science of making money with money. And so I really appreciate hearing about money from different perspectives. And this especially applies to van life because, a lot of us who do van life really value our freedom and our like the freedom to do what we want with our time. And so some of us still work a lot, some of us don't work very much. Right now I'm working at this job practically full time, or this gig practically full time until it wraps up, and then I'll go on to something else. But I think it's important to not become obsessed with money by any means, but to understand what it is and to be able to relate to it in a healthy way. Because I think what happens in our society, at least, is there's a sort of faux pas. It's faux pas to talk about how much you make, and or how much you pay for certain things. And I think that part of that mentality is super unhealthy because whatever we don't talk about gets worse in some sense. And so when we understand how money works, when let's put it another way, like we become more aware of what we talk about. And so, in our van life community, are we aware, just a question I'll put out there, are we aware of how we relate to money? Are we aware of how we relate to time and our resources, to electricity, to our solar systems, to our car, to our vehicles? I think it's important to recognize that we relate to other things and other people as we are. And as we relate to ourselves. So if I relate to myself cruelly, or I begin to relate to other things or other people cruelly, I'm going to begin to relate to myself that way. So if I relate to myself that way, I'll relate to others that way. Or if I relate to others that way, I'll relate to myself that way. But if I relate to myself or others lovingly, then often it can travel back the other direction and make it easier for me to treat myself well. Or if I treat myself well, not selfishly, but in a healthy way, then it can be easier to treat others well. And so it's like life becomes what I am, how I relate to it. And and so like one framework I use for that personally is inside out thinking, because when I relate to things from the inside out, then I can find more efficient or more effective ways to relate to things and or people, no matter the situation, because I'm always looking for the fundamental principles that govern it, and then how can I use those to improve what I'm doing. And so if that's my communication, how can I use my words to improve that? If I'm doing, YouTube videos, how can I use what I know to do that? If it's van life, if it's money, if it's cutting wood here, I'm cutting wood, how can I use my resources to do that? So for instance, I didn't start by using a wheelbarrow, but I'm using a wheelbarrow now. Or a table, I'm using a table now so that wood doesn't have to fall and I don't have to bend down as much. And so using these two leveraging tools increases my efficiency. But it's the same with money. People with a wealthy mindset have their money make money for them. And so, it's like, and van life, I'm having it work for me by documenting it. And so, I guess for you, how are you using the resources at your disposal? How are you increasing them? How are you improving them? How are you making them better? And how is that improving the quality of your life? So I'd love to hear what you think. If you like this video, this little update, smash the subscribe button and the like button and the bell so you get all my notifications. And I really appreciate your time and watching this, and I hope that you have a great day. Bye-bye.